in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What draws behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
People don't like doing things, especially things that would make their lives better. So we are stuck. We're stuck with indecision. We're stuck on the fence. We're stuck waiting for some outside hand to pick us up and throw us into the arena, push us off from the fence and get our lives going. The epidemic of indecision, that is what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to another episode of Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. Go ahead and click that like button. Click the subscribe button if you're not already. Share the stream and all that good stuff. But we're going to be talking about why. Why is it that we do not make the decision, that we stay stuck waiting on the sidelines? How's it going, Dr. Thunder?
What's happening, man? How are you doing?
Not bad. For Wednesday, is it? Not bad for
though it says Tuesday on the in the branding up there.
Oh,
it's actually
it does,
Wednesday.
Huh? Okay. Okay, let's see if I can does this one say Tuesday too?
Yeah. Well, no, that one just says Getting Ish Done.
Okay, there you go.
Dr. Thunder, so no.
All right. So you heard what I said there, Dr. Thunder, that people, and I mean majority of people, majority of us, majority of the time, don't understand that there is a phase called making the decision, which we think, for example, that we want the things that we want, that we claim to want. We think we have decided that we actually would like to perhaps lose weight, make more money, get that training program, do whatever it is that you're trying to do between here and your ideal life, some ideal set of circumstances that is within your power. We think that we actually want these things, we've decided to do them, and maybe it's just a question of fitting in the how. Now, part of the reason why this is a salient topic for me, or is a topic that comes up over and over again, is because whenever people ask, what are the steps for something? I always redirect that question, and I always assume that that's not really what you're asking. You can't be asking me what the steps are for something. The steps are around them. Okay, we have the information, and in the way in which whichever way you like to consume that information, you could get it. You could get an audio book. You could go to YouTube. You could go to I forget all those sites that are out there that train you, teach you, give you lists, whatever. You can start at Google even, right? So it's never what's the next steps that I need to take. It's usually, well, as I put it, why haven't you started already? But what do you think about that? Am I right here that most of us do not consider this question of why haven't I started, or have I actually decided? Because I have a little sales trick that I want to try on you, Dr. Thunder. But what do you think so far?
Are you going to try a sales funnel on me? No, I don't want your product. No, I won't take a free version. Yeah, no, I'm totally, yeah, I'm in agreement with that. Something that I've said on this show before, uh, in a in some conversations with students of mine, or sort of presentations or whatever, pep talks. I kind of give some pep talky kind of stuff at the beginning of a school year, for instance. I'll tell students, you know, you need to stop waiting for your life to begin. This is your life. Wake up. This is your life. You know, and I think the sooner that we sort of grab the bull by the horns, um, and just get moving in some sort of direction, the steps will find you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's way too much emphasis on, I got to make sure I do this, put everything in the right place and all like this. Often I've found that people that do that are actually using that as an excuse not to start. Like, well, I need this big pile of stuff and I got to have all of the gadgets and I need to have my to-do list and I got to have all this stuff. I got to have the system, then I needed the degree. And then after I had the degree, then I got to get some licenses and I got to do it. You're right. They do all that and they still haven't done anything. And, you got to get started. You got to, put one foot in front of the other and start actually moving in some sort of direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I think people are paralyzed. They become, I don't know, focusing on all the wrong stuff and not actually on doing the thing that they say they want to be doing.
So here's where the sales funnel comes in. What I mean by that is, you see, in sales, one of the nicer ways to conceptualize what you're doing, especially if you believe in a product, if you believe in the good of the product, right? So now we're going to say that this product is that thing that this person wants, right? It could be a gym membership, it may be a training program, it could be something to push them in the direction of a place that they want to already go in their life, right? But we face the same problem, right, in sales. So in sales, you're that person picking them and forcing them into the arena, pushing them over the fence and saying, you need to do this thing, okay? So as a result, if you study sales, you study the pattern of these patterns of indecision, okay, that people have and how to guide them out of that. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through a list of things and see how it sounds to you, right? Just take it one by one of the kinds of things that salespeople know about the indecision that this person is presenting them with, right? And typically we deal, in other words, in our process of dealing with objections. So number one, let's start with just the basic thing. Number one, the person doesn't want the thing yet, or they haven't seen that's because they haven't felt the pain, right? Let me take a step back here to kind of ground this one psychologically a little bit. The idea is people don't actually pause in the moment of decision and say, do I actually want this thing? Right? Like, is this the thing that I actually want? And then pause there. Why they pausing there is because your whole being will respond, right? In one way or the other. Either the fear will come up or the excitedness or the doubt, whatever it is, it'll come up right in front of you, right? And then you have to like contend with that. Now, people haven't done this. People do not do this, okay? So one of the ways in which you're having a conversation with people when you're trying to close them on a deal, and part of it is bringing them to this precipice here of the decision. And how you do it, sometimes you try to paint them in that future, let's say, for example. But the number one, okay, and then we can get deeper into the number one. But the number one thing is that people actually haven't decided. They have not decided They don't know. They haven't actually stood there and paused and looked into this particular abyss that they're trying to, or valley they're trying to jump past, and they haven't felt the feelings or dealt with it at all. They haven't, no closure, no beginning, no nothing. They just think that they want what they want, right? What do you have to say about that? What do you think about that? Is that a good place for people to start?
In deciding if this is actually something that they want. Yeah. I think one issue. Okay, so this is a common thing amongst musicians, we'll say. So I've been doing music my whole life, and so I have a son, who's 8. So everybody asks me, so what is he going to play? Or they'll ask him questions, you going to play music just like your dad? Right? So there's a lot of this kind of stuff. And so I think what happens often is people there's a gravitational pull towards whatever their parents do. And maybe they're sort of lost in the shadow of their parents. And so they're just kind of going through the motions. Hey, well, they did this and I'll do this. And hey, they did this other thing. And I'm going to just kind of do what they're doing. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's good to learn from a parent that's very skilled in a particular way. It can give you an advantage. It can be a great advantage, right? And then now you also have the benefit of all of the marketing that has gone into developing the sort of name of your parent in the industry. So now you can kind of benefit from that. So it's not necessarily bad, but you can see where this could be problematic, especially if someone they don't really want to do that. That's not really what they want to do. So yeah, you have to actually want to do the thing that you're doing. I mean, I think it's very difficult to. Now, I'm all about discipline, and largely discipline is best expressed by the willingness to do things that you don't want to do consistently, right? But there's a sort of balancing act here between having the discipline to be willing to do things that you don't want to do consistently. Yeah, that's important, but ultimately you want to be doing something that you want to do.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that the stuff that you want to do is going to have a bunch of stuff that's associated with it that you don't want to do. So that discipline is going to come in handy while you're doing all this BS, that you don't want to do, but that is closely associated with the thing that you want to do, especially as you're getting started out and you don't have enough money to pay someone else to do the stuff that you don't want to do. So that means you're the person that has to do all of that stuff. So discipline is helpful there, but I think we don't want to confuse that. You don't want to say, okay, well, I'm just going to keep, I'm doing all this stuff I don't want to do, and it's okay for me to keep doing all the stuff that I don't want to do. And you find yourself doing stuff that you don't want to do, stuff that you don't even enjoy.
Nested goals, right? I mean, you want to be a great writer, and that's your goal. Well, then there are going to be many subordinate goals depending on, as you mentioned, stage and so on, right? That you're in your career, that are subordinate to the bigger nested goal of I want to be a great writer. And you're saying that the I want to be a writer goal should be really something that you want, because then you're going to be able to take the crap that comes with it, right?
That's right.
Now, the people don't want it. People don't want what you're trying to sell them, and you got to make them want it. Part of that is that they don't want change. Okay, as simple as that. And people have not contended with this. People don't again, we're still in item number 1, which is, well, the reason why you haven't decided, the reason why you're not doing what you're supposed to do, it's not because of I don't have the list of ways to do it. It's like, no, that's BS, and everybody knows that. Like, I don't even have to explain why that's BS. Okay, you can find out. The information is at our hand. It's been in our hand tips for a while now. Okay, internet is quite old. Okay, these days. So it is about some block, some decision which you haven't made, some step which you haven't taken. And the first reason is that you actually don't want it yet, or you don't know that you actually don't know that you haven't made that decision. You haven't stood there and decided, seen the perhaps consequences and dealt with it. And one of the reasons, you may want it, but then you may also be in this situation where it's like, well, I don't want to change though, right? I don't want to change. I don't feel the urgency yet. The pain is not strong enough yet. Okay. Or I don't think I deserve it. Because some people go around thinking, oh yeah, I would love to have that stuff, but actually they don't think they deserve it. Now that sounds like some kind of woo stuff. What really? All I'm asking people to do here, right, is to go and ask that question to themselves. I don't know, get on your knees beside your bed or whatever, and ask yourself, do I want this thing? Okay. Do I want, $8 million? I don't know what it is. and really, and sit there. And as Jordan Peterson says, the answer will come to you. Okay. And we all know that. And then you have to then deal with whatever it is that the answer is, and all that. You have to process it. It's like digesting something. And then you can move forward. Okay. So that's lesson number 1 from sales, and we can perhaps revisit it. But then the second one is closely related, is that most people, when you want to sell them something, and the reason why they don't want to take it, they don't want to take this gym membership or this thing that's going to be great for them, that's going to take their business to the next level, this sales training program for their sales training team that they claim they want to grow as a business. But another thing is they don't believe in themselves. In other words, will I actually utilize the program to the utmost? Will I pull my weight literally at the gym if I get this gym membership? Will I give my all, right, to this? It is a huge one, and people typically won't say this. And actually, not only will they not say it to you, have never said it to themselves. So sometimes in the sales process, you actually have to be bold as to go broach this thing. Like, when was the last time you actually engaged in a program like this? Or straight up ask them, do you just think that you're not going to use this? Right? What do you think about this number 2? People don't believe in themselves. They don't think that they're actually going to put in the work.
I might phrase it differently. They believe in themselves. They just know that they ain't ish. They've got a long track record of not following through, of not prioritizing things that are important, of wasting time, procrastinating, buying all the apparatus, the to-do lists and all the gear, and then not doing anything with it. Remember I was saying in another show, a prerequisite to scheduling is doing what you say, right? Because if I can have my to-do list and I can have my schedule and I can have all this stuff, but if I don't do what I say, it doesn't matter what you write down. That's just more stuff for you not to do, more stuff for you not to follow through on, right? So I think that it's not that they don't believe in themselves. No, they actually believe. they actually know themselves well enough that they won't do it because of the track record that they've established for themselves. And obviously, I'm picking at something that didn't really need to be picked at. Everyone knows what they don't believe in themselves mean. But I was seeking to maybe go a little deeper with that, because the issue really is, it's not about it's not about like a believe it, achieve it. It's not a how could I say this? It's not that, I don't know. I just think people think that there's some kind of magic or something all the time when it's not magic. It's just consistency or lack of consistency. It's
So let me
just,
take you a step back to the place where you said that people don't have the wins, or they have, in other words, they have a record of losses. Let's put it that way. A track record
yeah,
of
that's a
not
better
being
way
ish
to
or
say it.
whatever. A track
Yeah.
record of whatever. So if you mention it that way, it would seem therefore that the track record is important. So how does one begin to then work on that track record, right? Because
Yeah.
if the track record is, because people's track record, most people do find it important that, you know, they cannot that, you know, I mean, at some point when you lose enough time, you know, you start to, like, I mean, you might want to get the message, right? So
Right.
we understand it, but the thing that and this is why from a young age it's important for people to get to win, and win is actually something, not free, you know, everyone gets a trophy type stuff, right? But
Yeah.
to reach beyond, you know, reach for a bar that's just high enough for you to be reaching, and actually then get it and be like, yeah, and then next bar, next bar, next bar. And if you're an adult and you don't have a track record, if you're an adult, I doubt that, because if you're in this situation where you have no track record of any wins whatsoever, then there's a different kind of work that you got to go do. It's a more fundamental, some fundamental work, which this is not about. This is for your average person who can point to some wins in their life, right? They do have a job, let's say, and this or that or the other, and they're kind of maybe proud of this. Maybe one year, maybe in 2018, they were in the best shape of their lives, right? So they can, typically, the average person can find some place to say, hey, you know what? I can't be wanting this thing, but the thing that's stopping me is me thinking that I'm not going to be able to pull through. I was able to pull through in this area before. Let me just go ahead and start with this one now. Or decide and capitulate and completely just that, you know, you don't want this. Because that is the point here. It's not that you must do any of this crap. Point is, do you actually want to do it? Right? And rather than saying that you want it, spending a lot of time and all that stuff, or thinking the structure, and you're making a whole bunch of noise, tying your happiness or lack thereof, your bad behavior to this thing, right? Being shitty with people because you're not getting what you claim that you want, but all the while you don't even know whether you want it yet. And one of the main reasons might be because you don't actually think you're going to put in the work that is required. Okay, and what in this in sales, what you want to do is you simply want to confront the person with that. And what tends to happen is, in the presence of another person, typically, people are ashamed of the fact that, right? So they tend to, it's a motivating factor. Again, you know, it might just be temporary, right? This might just be like a sales thing, and then they're not going to use it anyway. You get them over the hump, like, yes, I will sign up for the gym membership, and they still not, then you get your money and you leave, right? But if you can bring somebody to the point where they're now honest enough with you, where both of you are now looking at the fact that they don't think they are going to put in the work, typically in the presence of someone else, they're like, you know what, I'll do it. It's easy to give them that moral support, and there's a little bit of shame going on there where you're like, come on, man, I can't be this much of a bitch, right? Like, you know, like, here's this business coach, I know that he's going to be the guy that's going to take it to that next level, this, that, and the other, and I'm here, and he just got me to the point where I'm the problem here, so let me move forward. Will that is that a good way of motivating people past that hump, or do you think that they'll just fall back to they're not going to move on anyways?
Yeah, I think that, you know, an important skill to have is to know what the next step should be. You know, that's an important skill. Like, you want the next step to be stretching you a bit, but not ridiculous, right? And that's the value of a good teacher or mentor or dad, you know, is to be able to tell you what this next step ought to be. You know, someone that knows you well enough, knows where you are, and also understands where other people maybe similar, wired in a similar way, where they were. So they've got a lot of research data, in other words, to suggest that, hey, this is probably the next step that you want to take. You know, because if you're out here just choosing stuff that seems like, oh, there's this other crazy thing for me to do, and yeah, I mean, and then you do enough face plants in a row, you get enough losses in a row, and it can start to make you start to question if you know, if this is what you want to do or not. And yes, we are live, Mike Wyatt.
Indeed,
we are live.
Yeah, so that is item number 2, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to why you haven't started, why you are waiting on the sidelines, why you're sitting on the fence. So this is not an other people problem. This is a problem that happens on the broad and happens on the granular as well. In other words, you not having decided to do something is something that you should start checking for in your life. You think you want things, but you don't want them. You actually haven't decided to want them, or maybe you're trying to live someone else's dream, which is very easy to do, by the way. And it's not an insult to anyone's intelligence. You're a monkey, let's say. Basically, the idea is it's part of your program to mimic, okay? That's a big part of how we operate, okay? You're not out there analyzing everything. Trust me, okay? We live in a society and we just mimic each other. And it's generally not, like 80% of the time, generally good, it'll work, okay? You stay in the lane, you do this, you line up, you follow just do what other people are doing, generally speaking, you'll be fine. People start running that way, run that way too, right? That's the idea. So mimicry involves, famously, the mimicking of desires. Okay, and I always like to give the example of the kid that is playing with toys, right? And there's a red ball that the kid is not interested in at all. Like the kid is playing with these other cars and stuff. But if somebody else comes into that room, some other kid, and gravitates directly to that red ball and looks at that red ball like, oh my God, it's so desirable, we know what the monkey then does. It's like, whoa, what's all of a sudden now we want that red ball. Desires are, and by desires, here's what I mean. Maybe I can get into this a little bit in the, maybe we see what you think about this theory of desire being memetic. Or desire being memetic. So we're not talking about drives and instincts. We're not talking about hunger, for example, right? You're not just copying people's hunger, right? Those are, if you hunger, sleep, those physical things, that's not what I mean by desires. I mean the desire for the red ball. Those things that are unnecessary. Red ball or the Jordans or the whatever, right? That you are doing it because someone else is doing it. What do you have to say about that, Dr. Thunder? Because I think it is a key aspect here of this. Do you actually want what you want? Decision, right? Desires are memetic. You want that red ball because someone else wants it. You want a Jordan because some celebrity, and a way of representing the everyone, the someone, is to put some celebrity in some ad and say, this is what everybody wants. Amen, right? And then you follow.
Yeah, I think that is, for most people, that is highly effective. It's not particularly effective for me. And maybe part of it is because I'm aware that that's what they're doing. And okay, so related, a little tangential, but related. As a content creator, there's this sort of wrestling between substantive content and sort of salacious, stuff that will get a lot of views, clicks, topics, you know, that will get, will get more traffic, and so you have to decide, what you want to do, how you want to do it. For me, I actually enjoy doing both kinds of topics, because I'm going to just say the same stuff, I say anyway. I see it as a strategy rather than sort of selling out for no reason, but yeah, I mean, it is effective for most people to, that whole, everybody wants the red ball, you should want the red ball too. Because if you present it like, here, we've got all of these red balls, nobody wanted to buy them, so now you can have them for cheap. You can't get rid of those red balls. No, now nobody will buy them. So, yeah, I'll take one though, because I'll look at it like, hey, well, you guys are being, you guys are falling for the okie doke. I'm just going to grab this because I know it actually has value.
Indeed,
So,
indeed.
anyhow.
So the don't believe something would work, right, is item number 3. Item number 1 was, I actually don't want it. Okay. Item number 2 is, I don't believe in myself, right? I don't think I'm going to put in the work. It's too complicated, the process, blah, 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 whatever it may be. And then I don't believe it'll work is, I don't trust the process, right? I don't trust the process. I hear people say trust the process, and then I'm looking at it now from the negative side of not trusting the process, which is something that you see when you're trying to sell somebody something. Let's say you're trying to sell them some software, or managing their accounting, or managing their customer relations, or doing whatever it may be, the project management software. And they see the features, they may see some benefits, but they don't really trust the process. Like this, we're roughing it through right now, and this looks better, but I don't see it taking me to that place which you're painting that is going to take me to, right? But let me just ask you this question about trust the process, because it's something I've heard you say before. What does that mean, and how can you teach somebody to trust the process? Because I'm not a process person at all, so I wonder. Now, the word may not strictly be process. So what do you mean trust the process there? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me say trust the process, but probably some things like, I'm pretty logistics oriented, so, I can do pretty much anything if I know what the sort of steps are, what the sort of constituent parts, like what's the next thing I do? Okay, now what's the next thing? And I'm very detail oriented, and so having those details makes it much less difficult. And in some of the hardest, hardest not the right thing. Some of the most time-consuming composition, when I say composition, I'm talking about like music composition, is composing without parameters, right? So in other words, okay, I'm writing something original, it's going to be, so it's, it's like, it's kind of ambiguous and stuff. I don't know. Now somebody calls me and says, hey, I need something that's like this, this, and this. I want this instrumentation. Here's a frame of reference. There's a recording as a frame of reference. Okay. And by the way, the deadline is a week from today, and at noon. And I want it submitted in this file format, and I want mock-up, you know what I'm saying? The more details, the easier it is actually to do what it is that you're at, that the person that is asking. If they call me and they're like, well, I don't know exactly what I want. I don't know. I'll kind of know it when I hear it. That's the stuff I really don't like doing that, because I know what that means is that I'm going to have to do stuff over and over and over because they don't really know what they want. Right. And because I'm pretty good at, if people give me details, I'm pretty good at nailing it, the first time or maybe the second time, but I think having more details and maybe more research data with respect to what can be expected if you follow a certain plan.
Mhm.
I think a lot of that stuff is helpful, because it takes the guesswork out of it. It makes it less like an experiment and more like, I don't know. People don't like the ideas of like experiments with their life.
Exactly.
Experimenting.
So, and this is the whole in sales. This is why typically you the next steps you want to, and you don't just say next steps just because you say next steps precisely. Next steps that are precisely salient to the point that you're making here. The things that seem up in the air about, whatever the client is getting into, you want to tell them. And this is even before you close them, like, okay, cool. So the next thing is going to be, you're going to get a file in this email, and you're going to click on the blah, blah, blah. And then this, and in a couple of weeks, the car will be delivered in your driveway by pop, 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 right? And then you have to sign this document when it comes through. As a matter of fact, I'll send you a PDF of it right now so that you can do a DocuSign on it before the car arrives. And then you work the steps backwards again. That kind of thing. Then they're like, okay, cool. Okay, I think I get it. So you sign this, right? And then cool. So that's interesting, because this particular aspect I never thought of as using to help people, right? It's just to sell to people, right? But in terms of helping people, showing them that, okay, look, because again, I always had the aversion towards the lists of what are the steps? Kind of like, why haven't you started, right? So let's say you've gotten them past the, do I want this? Because that was number one. Do I want it? And then number two, will I put in the work? Will I do what needs to be done? And then now you're at the place where you're like, okay, cool. Let's make it smooth for you. Let's give you steps. Let's make it granular. Let's show you A to Z, back to A again. That way, now you're off. Now this person has got off now they're in the arena, huh? We've succeeded.
Right.
Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to go back to on the level of not wanting it yet is the pain and the urgency. What is that lacking of urgency that I think is highlighted by the very first point that you made when you said that you often talk about your students waiting for their lives to begin, right? Which is a lack of urgency there, one might say. What exactly is causing that lethargy, lack of urgency? What are they waiting for? Do these people answer you either in the present or in the future? What do they say was going on? For those whom, for example, get the message, right? They heed the call that you are laying out there. And then they come back to you and be like, hey, this was helpful. Do they give you any insights as to what exactly the nature of the sleep was that you awakened them from?
I just think a lot of people, they just think that there will be this mystical, magical moment that will signify like some sort of rite of passage, like a ceremony or something. And then when that ceremony happens, that signifies this is the beginning, and that's just not the way that stuff works. Now, as I look back on my life, there were certain points, certain moments that were of significance, and I reflect back at them now with the benefit of 2020, vision, right? Hindsight's 2020. But when you're going through things and you don't you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what anything means. I mean, it's very difficult to have any idea of the significance of any particular moment. You don't know, right? And so the reason why it's so important to sort of wake up and realize that right now is just as important in a moment as any other moment in your life will be. Now is just as important, maybe more important than any other point in your life. And I think the sooner people realize that, the sooner they'll be able to at least intellectualize, you know, how they can sort of the way that they should move, and the sort of, you know, you used the term urgency, the kind of urgency in and it's not just urgency. Urgency is great. That's a great term. We, you know, in sports we like to talk about, you know, the whole urgent thing, you know, he's just playing with such urgency today. You know, we like to talk, you know, we like that word. But really, I think what we're talking about is being deliberate, you know, being contrived, you know, being, and I know that's a word we don't like either, right? Because contrived seems like it's putting yourself in a straitjacket. It's the opposite of being spontaneous, all of that kind of stuff. But being contrived, I think, is important when you're trying to push things forward, because you want to eliminate as much abstraction as possible, right? So if you can just be deliberate about what you're doing and not be sort of, well, this stuff is kind of happening right now, but you know, whatever. Okay, yeah, I'll roll with the punches, you know that, okay, that's whatever. I mean, be deliberate, be specific, be intense, be targeted, you know, be, you know, get on your purpose, you know, as AMS says, be on purpose, not, you know, sort of watching yourself from someone else's viewpoint. You're the one that's driving this thing. Get your hands on the wheel. Do what's necessary. And you know what? If you go in the wrong direction, the benefit of momentum is that it's actually not that difficult to turn yourself around.
So Jordan Peterson does that self-authorship stuff, right? And one of the things, now this is, it goes with the whole psychological practice, right? In other words, the cognitive therapy, which is the talk therapy, which for most introverts we find mysterious. Like, why would anybody gonna need to go talk to somebody? We do a lot of talking to ourselves, and it's like, well, right. I have like 3 therapists in my head before I realized that I had any, right? Because you're always the kind of, for example, this decision that I'm saying that people don't make, right? And the talking through of the decision, and envisioning my life, future authorship, which is a kind of a strategic way of saying where you want to be, being on purpose, being deliberate, being contrived, all that stuff that you mentioned, right? Boom, 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 doing it that way. Is something that Jordan Peterson offers, and also it's part of the whole therapeutic process, if you can kind of think about that whole cognitive therapy, talking things through. And I was just kind of saying that some of us have the natural habit of just doing that anyways. But I do understand that most other people actually need to go through and look through this stuff for it to actually then click, right? And beyond the being contrived and being on purpose, there's a sense of importance that you're actually now giving to the task of your life, right? Because prior to you waiting for your life to start, when you're on the sidelines and all that kind of stuff, right? Whether it's urgency or not, there's also when you're in the arena, this is important. I'm taking it as important. Um, you talked about the moment, the now moment, and the reason why two simple kind of statements just come to mind now when you just talk about the now and the importance of the now. Obviously, this you can go about on and on about the now forever. But number one, it's because the moment is all that you ever experience, right? It's not like
Yep.
tomorrow's moment is different from right now, right?
Right.
Now is always now, right? Like now is always now. 50 years from now, if you're lucky enough to still be alive, guess what it's gonna feel like? It's gonna just feel like just now. There is no special, when the sun gets a little brighter in the future and there's a little bit more ozone in the air or something that is gonna, I don't know what, there is no special time, right? In terms of your experience, your actual perception of the moment, it never changes. That's number one. And then number two is the fact that this current moment is the only one that you have guaranteed, right? So
That's right.
given the fact that a moment is a moment is a moment is a moment, the present moment is by definition the most important one because of all the past ones don't even exist, right? Because that's just an imagination. And of all the quote unquote future moments you're waiting for, you're not even guaranteed those. And guess what? They're just like this. It's like,
Right.
just like this. It's not, nothing's gonna change. Okay.
Well, and
Nothing's-
also the now facilitates future nows. So if you are to discard the now, you're also discarding the future potential nows.
100%.
Right? So everything is tied to now. Every decision you make now facilitates the future now. So it's really so you're stuck with it no matter what. And so sort of sitting around in a sort of malaise as though this moment is of somehow is of less significance than when you're actually doing what you want to be doing, whatever that means. It just pushes off that moment. So if you're not, to use the term, living the now with a certain urgency, then the future now that you desire, it also is going to, it's going to take longer to get here because you're not pressing. Because what produces results is not lackadaisically going through the motions. It's intensity. It's the intensity that produces the results. It's all of that stuff that it's the energy. It's the energy put forth towards a particular task that it's that's what actually produces results. The other stuff doesn't produce anything. And then not only have you wasted that now, you've pushed off the now that you desire in the future even further.
That grind, right? People don't like it. Well, let me stop talking about people. Let me talk about what I don't like about it, because I don't think there's anyone. Maybe some people are in love with a certain kind of grind, but I think everybody has a particular kind of grind that they're not built.
Right.
Like there is a particular thing that you just don't like doing. I think I've been it's been a whole month like that for me, and tonight, for example, it's continuing tonight. It's going to continue into next week when I travel again to Seattle. And so I've been doing a lot of traveling and a lot of certain types of things while there's a whole ton of administrative work also happening. And there's nothing that shuts me down like administrative work. Like it is, man. That I can't stand that grind, man. But I know because it seems so. Anyways, let me not talk about why I don't like it. But in the moment of doing it, because I can't stand it, it is very uninspiring, and I can't even see. There's no juice in there, right? Like I may be solving a problem. Let's talk about something that I do like, right? I'm solving a problem. The client, it may be even to maybe sell something, the solution to the client. In other words, there's no payment for it yet. So there's no money it's not money that's motivating me. And it is hard work and all these things, but at least it's a problem that I'm solving, right? So I'm like, ooh, okay, cool. Let's try to figure this out. Let's check this. Let's research that. Let's blah, 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 right? But administrative work, it might even be the administrative work to actually collect a check, right? Invoicing or something like that, where there's money at the other end, but it's so damn uninspiring to me. It's like, I had to fill out what other form again. You didn't get the W-9 that I sent. Oh my God. And it's just a whole long list of them that I got to do right after this interview, actually. And it's bloody hell, man. Like, I hate that crap. So I feel your pain, everybody out there, when it comes to this kind of stuff. And let me play a thing here from Jordan Peterson about his future authorship. And let's see if we could kind of riff on it here. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, if I should remind us, we're talking about why you haven't decided to do the things that you claim that you want to do, the life that you want, the money you want to make, the house and the wife and the whatever that you may want, the six-pack that you're looking for, the 6 and 7 figure salary that you're looking for, whatever it is, why you haven't started doing that. And I think that it's not a trivial thing, and it's not something to beat you over the head with, to just say, oh, well, why have you done it, bro? I'm saying that, look, that we don't understand that, for example, the whole memetic desire thing, which is you talk about your son being asked, hey, you're going to play do this like your dad. And, and that's one thing where people just kind of implant these desires in you. And then do you want it? Do you think you deserve it? Is there a sense of urgency? Are you still afraid to change? And then do you think you'll put in the work? Do you think that the process will work because, you don't think the process will work because you're lacking somehow? You don't think you're going to pull it through? You don't think you're going to, yes, I'm going to learn this training, and I'm trying to learn how to sell more real estate, but I don't really think I'm going to put in the work, right? Yeah, so therefore I'm not going to buy the training program, and I'm not going to pull through on the real estate thing. And I might still keep on pretending like I want to be a successful real estate agent, but I actually don't believe in myself. Or as Dr. Thunder would say, I believe in myself and I know I ain't shit, right? And then you don't believe stuff, you don't trust the process. You don't trust the process, and it may be related to other things such as, you haven't seen a track record of wins as well. But we talked about in that place, then someone can help you. Okay. You talk about mentors that, for example, know where you're at, know what the next steps need to be for you, and they can help you along the way. I talked about the sales methodology here, where you're telling people what the next steps are, making it clear for them because it eases the way. It's like you're being a midwife to help people take the next step in their life. Okay. Our arrow towards the right, the new life, right, in our picture here, that's what you're trying to help them do in sales. And that's why I wanted to use these kind of sales framework of the ways in which we understand objections in sales. Because people will tell you things like, I got to talk to my CEO. It's not in our budget. Dr. Thunder's favorite, right? I got to talk to my wife. Whatever the hell, we're not looking at this right now. All these other things that they'll say. But really, it's because they don't know. They actually haven't decided whether they want it or not. They don't believe in themselves, or they don't believe the product will work, or some kind of fear-related thing in that whole mix. It's not some kind of logic, because people are not because that'll suggest like, oh my God, people are very deliberate and planned, like they know the steps, and they're going, oh well, in step 15, then that's when I'm ready to bring in another $50,000 a month into my business. It's like, shut up. Shut up about that. Okay, nobody knows any of that crap. Okay, so it's not. Nope. That's not the reason why. So if you're telling me it's not in the plan yet, like, shut up about the plan, right? It's not that's not. You need to get down to brass tacks with regards to your emotions. Would you mind reading the super chat here? Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Jedi said 777 super chat. Thank you. Facts. Admin work can drain a brother. Even sending emails over missing check That's 30 minutes now gone. Laugh out loud.
Tell me about it,
No.
man. Tell me about it. They're like, oh, you got to resend your certificate of insurance because we didn't get the okay. But and then every time I gotta like, you need workman's comp and automotive. I'm like, I'm an engineering firm. We don't do the work on site. Blah blah blah. Oh, okay, cool. Then fill out this other form and send it. And you're like, oh my god, and it's actually money on the other end, but still, it's just so sucking. It just kills me. But I'm gonna be doing that for the next few weeks, and then the travel part is the other part I was talking about, which kills me. Just traveling and then doing the actual meet and greet and talking to people and the whole everything other than the 30 minutes. It's usually like, so let's say I'm doing an hour presentation. Everything other than that hour. So I'm in the city for like 2 days or something like that. That hour, I don't mind the hour. Like I don't mind the presentation, like because that's the performance. That's I got my sax now and I'm playing. Okay, cool. But all the crap, the checking in and the this and the logging of this particular equipment and the plugging in and da, and then people wanting to hang out after.
It's funny. There's a sort of it's kind of an expression, kind of a saying, something that's frequently said by musicians is, the setting up, the driving to the gig, all of that stuff. That's why we get paid. The music, we do that for free, kind of a thing. And there's a lot of, especially to creative personality types, that kind of stuff really sucks the joy out of your life. It's not right.
Indeed. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and see what Jordan is talking about here with his future authorship program. Okay. Thank you very much again for that super chat, and you guys can follow suit. Okay, you got a question, a comment, a concern. Is there any particular aspect of this that is salient to you, that touches upon you? Are you someone whom is not making that decision because you don't think you will actually pull through? You don't think you can actually succeed in this task, right? So that is the thing that's holding you back. It's not a question of not knowing the steps. It's that you're just not convinced yet that you're actually going to be able to take it there. You don't trust the process. You don't think the thing will actually work. Okay. You don't think Jordan Peterson's self-authorship program will work. Let's go ahead and see.
You want, the need, assuming you're taking care of yourself, right? Assuming that you're starting out with the proper attitude towards yourself, which is that you're worthy of care and respect, and there's something to you that's valuable, that at least could be developed. You need to give yourself that amount of credit, like you would with anyone that you might be willing to attempt to care for and love. And then the next question is, all right, you can have what you want, but you have to specify it. What would you like from your friends 3 to 5 years down the road? What would you like your friendship network to look like? What would you like to do? How would you like your career to shape itself? How are you going to take care of your family, and then what about children and a long-term mate, a wife or a husband? What are you going to do with your time outside of work that's useful and engaging and meaningful and productive? How are you going to take care of yourself mentally and physically? And how are you going to withstand temptation so that it doesn't take you down in the particular way that temptation might take?
What do you think about so far? Are you getting pretty detailed? Do you get this detailed with your vision board?
Well, I've not ever done a vision board, and I actually historically have struggled writing things down with respect to, like, here's my 5-year plan, here's my 10-year thing. Like, that's actually been a struggle for me. It's not because I don't think, I've done it before. I've done it, a few times. And all the stuff that I wrote down is stuff that I accomplished. But I kind of sometimes struggle writing things down like that, because I think it's because I'm such an intuitive, right? So like I'm sort of rewriting and writing things as I go all along, and sometimes writing something down can sort of get in the way of that. And maybe in my head somehow I convince myself that by writing something down, now I have given myself something to fixate on, and maybe that's not necessarily positive, right? Like I want it to be this, now obviously, if I think folks have, maybe a lot of people have a sort of version of some of the issues that I just expressed about writing things down. That shouldn't necessarily be the reason that you don't write things down. Right. So there's like a sort of tension between trying to be free, as it were, and spontaneous, and being sort of structured in the structure, understanding that the structure actually is what facilitates the spontaneity. It gives you a framework by which to be spontaneous within, right? And but yeah, I mean, I present a lot of the kind of details that Jordan is talking about. I think there's another way that sometimes folks get at the same thing, rather than sort of using you're valuable, something that's in you is worthy of, developing. They'll just tell you that you ain't ish. And when are you gonna do something that makes you worth something?
Yeah, it's
stop being a freaking loser and get out here and do something that means something.
That's pretty. That little dichotomy there that you just described is pretty interesting, right? In the sense that some of us just like Dan Pena, for example, and Dan Pena is just this crazy. I don't know if you. Yeah, this crazy guy just to tell me that as a matter of fact, I may play that today while I write those crazy emails about insurances and invoices and crap, right? And for some of us, that negative pressure actually makes us rise up. Like the other thing of, oh, you're worth something, just doesn't. It falls dead. It's sappy and soupy. It's weird. I don't, it's like a wet blanket.
I just don't want people patting me on the back. I don't know. There's just something about me. I don't like that. And it's interesting because all of us want to be acknowledged. Okay. That's a fact. Okay. All of us want to be acknowledged. Maybe the way we want people to acknowledge us is different. Like some people want a lot of sappy, pat you on the back, all of that kind of stuff. Other people I just want you to know that I did this, but you don't need to say anything to me. You know what I'm saying? So it could be that kind of thing, or just the opportunity to show what you're capable of. You know what I'm saying? That for some folks that's all they need. It's just the opportunity to show what they're capable of. They've been developing all this stuff for all this time in private and secret. They got all this, these skills, all this stuff together, and now they want to be able to unveil this, and be acknowledged by people, knowing that they were the ones that that brought this stuff together. Sometimes that can be the thing. And that's not, I don't think that's like an egotistical thing at all. I just think it's like ego is involved in it, but it's like, it's just, I just think there's different things that make people feel appreciated or seen. We have this thing we see now that I see you. And it's like what? Get out of here! I hope you see me.
Used to be the kind of crap that men suffered torturously that their wife or some significant other was telling them about being scene or whatever. And now it's at the workplace.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I just want to know. I guess I want to know that you see me. I just don't want you to ever say that. Just never say I see you. Never say that to me, because that's a little bit too much like a pat on the back. So anyhow, I don't even remember what I was talking about. But anyhow, there is the different sort of ways that people are motivated, like we're talking about, and I do. What he's saying is true, is factually accurate, and actually, the reason that the other thing is effective is because what Jordan Peterson is saying is true. There is something valuable about you. There is something worth developing, and by telling you that you ain't nothing, and get out here.
You recall. Yeah, because I think
You're bringing
perhaps
it alive.
for someone like you, there is already some kind of an image. If you use Jungian language, like there's an archetype, a strong archetype you already have of your ideal self somewhere, right? And you don't need and that once somebody tells you, hey, you like, all of a sudden that thing, you look at that thing,
it jumps out. That's
you're
right.
like, and then you have to straighten up and conform with what that archetype dictates that you have to be. So
that's right.
Same thing here with me. I'm like, I'm not gonna. Anyways, let's continue with Jordan Peterson here. He has given us the fact that, hey, first of all, you have to decide that something that's worth in you, worthy of development, and we talk about the different ways in which one could tap that. And then he went in rather elaborately into the friendship networks, the how I would like my life to look like and to be like. I'm sure people will talk about where they would like to stay, how many kids they would like to have, and all these other kinds of things. Let's see.
What are you going to do with your time outside of work that's useful and engaging and meaningful and productive? How are you going to take care of yourself mentally and physically? And how are you going to withstand temptation so that it doesn't take you down in the particular way that temptation might take you down? And so you're asked to write a few sentences, not to be obsessive about it, but to sketch it out like a bad first draft, And then you're asked to write for 15 minutes. It's like, okay, it's 3 to 5 years down the road, and you have what you need and want to make your life what it needs to be so that you can be a good person in the face of the suffering of life. What does it look like? And then we ask people to do the contrary, which I think is also useful, which is, all right, well, consider for a moment the multitude of your faults and the direction those faults could pull you in. And everyone knows that. Everyone has a sense of how they would fall apart in their own particular manner, with their own particular weaknesses. It's 3 to 5 years down the road, and you've let that part of your character dominate. What particular corner of hell is it that you're now occupying? And so now you have something to aim at. You have a purpose, right? And that's motivating. People need a purpose in life. You need a purpose neurochemically, because without a purpose, you don't feel any positive motivation or any positive emotion. Like, our positive emotion is linked to our pursuit of valuable goals. That's how our brains are set up. And so you need that positive goal, and also to stop you from being unduly uncertain and anxious because nothing is specified enough. And you need something to run away from. And so you can run away from the worst in you. You can escape from the worst in you, and you can move towards the best in you. And then we have people write out a strategic plan for the accomplishment of their goals. It's called the future author.
Are you more of a running away from something or running towards something kind of guy?
That's interesting.
I think I'm more negatively. I think there's this. I think it was somebody that actually said. Someone was like, well, we were having this deep conversation about philosophy and psychology and motivations and things like that. And talking about different kinds of nihilism, the good kinds of nihilism. In other words, the kind that allows you to be able to flow from one game to the next without necessarily being, you having your ego completely tied to this one game, one life purpose, that type of stuff. It's like, oh, you know what? that I could just dissolve out of that and become something else. But the one thing that I'm not gonna be is a loser.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that for me, it's like, okay, I don't really know. Okay, maybe I could go for this hierarchy or that, but I'm not gonna be a loser.
Yeah. And I haven't talked about this that recently, but something that I used to talk about frequently, and think about is, I don't want to be a failure. And I remember, especially as a young person, growing up, that being a powerful motivation. I just don't want to be a failure. I don't want to be, and it's the same thing that you're saying, don't want to be a loser. So I was influenced by that. That was a motivation. And there is the whole thing, like with great, with great, with great whatever. Well, great something is great. What is it?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. So if you've been given a lot, if you have a lot of natural ability, if you are capable of doing a lot of different kinds of things, then there's a greater expectation that you not be a freaking failure. And what excuse could I use that would make people feel like it's okay that I was a freaking, that I winded up homeless or something? What could I what could I say? There is nothing. There's nothing. My parents are still married. My dad set me up in the best way possible. Been super supportive. All my siblings are successful. I had everything that I needed or wanted when I was growing up as a kid. All of the stuff. Started music very young. All of the stuff, scholarships, all of this kind of stuff. So what can I say? What excuse could I give that someone, a reasonable person, would accept as being a good reason for me being a freaking loser? So there's that, and then there's but that can be sort of aimless though. That can be the the jetpack in the back, but you still have to have a rudder, as it were. You still have to have something that is okay. Now I've got a lot of power coming out the back here. That's good, but I still need to go in a particular way. So then that's when obviously, and I wasn't I wasn't aimless or something in the goals that I had. I always had very specific goals, but I'll also remember myself feeling very much propelled by that don't want to be a failure thing.
I definitely resonate with that one as well. So let's play the last few minutes of Jordan here, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Sure.
Okay.
And then you can do some mindless administrative work.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
With some Dan Pena.
What?
Pena. You get some Pena.
Yeah. This is the damn Pena. Like crap. I can't even. There's nothing I can do. So I can't drink alcohol because I don't. Nothing to make this pain go away. But hopefully, when I get the checks in the mail, that'd be nice.
Ring program, by the way, it's available online at a site called selfauthoring.com, and we've tried it with thousands of university students now, and it's had a remarkable effect on their retention. The effect is approximately 25%. We decrease dropout by 25. And it seems to be most effective for the most disaffected students. So it works better for men, because women are outperforming men academically. And it actually works better for non-Western ethnic minority men, having a tremendous impact on their likelihood of staying in university and also on their grades.
I didn't know that part about his working particularly for the colored folks. Okay, let me recap 1, 2, 3, right? And then we'll talk about what's going on, Dr. Thunder, on Thursday and also on Sunday. Case closed on this channel Sunday, which is 4 p.m. right? It's not 4:30, right?
It's 4 p.m.
Eastern.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. And this week we got another great panel. Okay, another great panel talking about another great topic. And this is going to be about the Jezebels and the Proverbs 31 women and all the things you should avoid and the things you should perhaps gravitate towards in your significant other when it comes to starting this thing called family, which getting that business going, the business of future generations and the economics of it, generational wealth and generational despoilation and getting destroyed and how not to get destroyed. Hopefully is what we're focusing on. So today we talked about the fact that you are not making a decision. You're fence sitting. You're in the sidelines. You're waiting for some deity to pull you out of the breaches and the breaches or whatever, the stands, and put you in the arena, waiting for your life to begin, waiting for something to happen to you. Okay, like life hasn't happened to you yet. And Dr. Thunder says, hey, your life is now. We talked about the fact that the now is the most important thing that you have, because now is always going to feel like this, and this is the only one you have guaranteed right now is the moment. And if you mess up the moment, you're pushing further into the future, according to Dr. Thunder, the moments that you would like, okay? The moments that you would like by not working on today's moment, by not doing the mindless administrative work, which I have to do now, I'm going to be screwing myself up. So I got to do it, okay? I have to do it. So the reasons why we don't make these decisions have to do with the fact they're all emotional, typically. They're not some kind of hyper-technical thing. Even the only technical thing which we mentioned, which is the step thing, the reason you need those steps is for some kind of emotional balance, right? So you're not just kind of flying all over the place. So you're like, okay, cool, I need some structure here, I need some parameters, I need to have an understanding. Okay, cool. Now I feel wrapped tight. I heard that one. I haven't heard this slang before, but I was watching some content recently. And this guy was like, boy, I knew that guy wasn't wrapped tight. like he wasn't all there. It's like,
yeah,
he wasn't wrapped tight. I'm like, that's a good. You ain't wrapped tight. Anyways, so even that thing about knowing the steps is about kind of keeping yourself emotionally centered. So do you actually want to do this thing? And do you believe in yourself? And do you believe in the process? Do you think that this thing will work? Do you think that you'll pull your part that you need to pull in? Do you have that sense of urgency? Do you think you actually deserve this thing? Do you give your life enough importance to be in the moment? But anyways, Dr. Thunder, what you got coming up tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think I'm doing a show about married men in the manosphere. I think that's what the topic's going to be, and I think my co-host is going to be kosher clinician. But we need to make, I need to confirm that. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. So really am very much looking forward to that. Getting him back on a Thunder's Thoughts. We did a Thunder's Thoughts together. I don't know, maybe a year ago. It's been a while, and it was a good show. It was about mental health in the Black community. I think this is going to be a good. He's a married gentleman. Of course, I'm married, and there's certain sort of, especially with this sort of nature of topics, the popular topics, which kind of are poo-pooing the idea of marriage and seem to be single person related, at times or much of the time. Why is it that there are so many married people, married men in particular, that are in the space? Why is that? Folks like Ike Ogiamian. Why is it that we're interested in what's going on in the space? Why is it important? So I think that's going to be it's going to be a good show. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I've got some new live concert footage from a concert I did this past Saturday, and so that'll be a couple of selections from that. That gig will be part of the pre-show, and I just added a new segment to the show, and that segment is called Simp Anthem of the Week. Simp Anthem of the Week. And the first Simp Anthem of the Week was Joe, All the Things Your Man Won't Do. The second one was Babyface, Soon As I Get Home. And there's an unending supply of simp anthems, and so I'll have a great one to line up, and there'll always be great music by great artists with a lot of begging and dirty macking in the lyrics. So we'll have a good time.
100%. Shout out to Tapu Smash, by the way. Okay, coming in here with the late $5 super chat, $4.99. Thank you very much. Talking about what failure is, because we both kind of said, hey, that the jetpack behind the back is about, hey, no matter what game is being played, no matter what kind of state we happen to find ourselves in, I'm not going to be a loser. And then it's like, well, what is this failure loser thing is? For me, it really is just about, as I defined in the chat there, I said, it's about stopping. It's about giving up. It's about not expanding. It's about, there's no point where I'm going to ever like, okay, crap, I got knocked down and I'm not going to get up. I'm going to stop. That's just never going to happen. That one I know for sure.
Yep. I don't have the ability to slow down. And something I realized in my life, and I didn't understand it at first, and it created some consternation and some sort of inner turmoil and stuff at times, probably more than necessary. But that's just the thing that people, not many people can handle, like being around me. And I'm not trying to say this to be like I'm some kind of great anything or whatever, but I'm always pressing. I'm very intense. I'm always working on something. I'm always trying to produce something else. I'm always reinventing myself. I'm always kind of, going at stuff full tilt. And I think it can often make people feel maybe insecure about what it is that they're doing, make them more aware that maybe they're not full tilt, so then that they feel a certain way, and I'm trying to pursue excellence in everything that I'm doing, and I don't think most people are doing that. I think most people are like, hey, whatever, I'll just let it be whatever. And I think it can be really irritating, that guy that keeps pointing out that what it is that you're doing is not good enough. I think that can be irritating. And so I've a lot of people I've burnt through a lot of folks. A lot of folks couldn't handle, hanging with me, and that's another thing. I don't really hang out like this. This is hanging out. We're hanging out right now. That's the extent of my hanging out. My wife was asking me about. She says, well, why don't you go and hang out with your friends? You don't ever just like go and watch the game or something like that. Well, I'll say, well, I do gigs, music. So I hang out online. I mean, that's my hanging out. I don't really do that. It's got to be something that's going to produce something, and I think it's one of the reasons it makes it really, really of critical importance to work with people that you actually like, that you enjoy some aspect of it, and that can sort of aid you on your journey, not just of getting the particular job done, but of becoming a better person. There's aspects of them that are really put together in a certain way that maybe you're not, and it kind of forces you to have to look at that and let me fix that about myself. I don't know. That's my thing. It's just always going to be like that. And I'm not saying that I've never hung out, that I've never gone to the club, that I've never done any of that kind of stuff, but it's been a long time since I've done that. And when I do that, it really has to be deliberate, and it has to be with certain kinds of people. I'd say maybe about 4 weeks ago, a couple of buddies of mine, they're both great musicians. We got together and we talked. But that might be the time that happened that wasn't on a gig, the first time in 5 years or something. I just don't do that. That's just not what I do. So
we hear you, Dr. Thunder. We definitely hear you. And with regards to being overly intense and stuff like that, it's not like it's a deliberate thing, but I tend not to tell people everything I do, anyways, right?
Right.
And that helps.
I finally learned how to do that myself.
Yeah.
Because it just screws everything up. I try to give people such a small I just tell them, hey, what do you do? I'm sitting right here talking to you. What do you mean? I try to keep it as simple as possible, because then it just starts getting weird. As soon as you say that you do, oh yeah, I'm a musician and I play instruments and I do podcasts and blah blah blah, and I got a show on Sunday and it's and I'm as soon as you start doing all of that stuff, it just gets weird, and I don't want to do that.
Shout out to Gail in the building. We're getting all the super chats coming in here as we just kind of talk our way out. Thank you very much. $5. Thank you for the moderation. Thank you for always dropping the links. Thank you for being one of the great moderators out here in the YouTube streets, and thank you for the $5 sticker. All right, 100%. Mic drop. They are saying yes. So ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next Tuesday, but also check out Case Closed 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. That's right. Now, Ike, I know you have to do this administrative stuff, this mindless administrative stuff, but remember, remain fully present. And remember that remember about the now. Your life has already begun, and the now, which will include just a few moments from now, some mindless administrative paperwork. Enjoy.
Amen.
in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What was behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.